Okay, I'm talking today with Karen Grassle, and she's well known as Ma on Little House on the Prairie, but she's also written a memoir a few years ago about her time as an actress and her life. And so I'm speaking with her today. Karen, thank you for joining us. The first question I want to ask you, for those especially who haven't read your memoir, can you share with us what your childhood was like, if you were able to give a synopsis of it?
Well, thanks, Danielle, for asking me to come and talk today. I think my childhood is interesting because it's full of contradictions. My parents really wanted to be parents. They went through losing 5 before they had me. And they really were devoted to me and to my sister. And they were very common sense about raising us. You know, we were definitely given boundaries. And we were also, because we were living in a small town in the 50s, given a lot of freedom to explore and to go off on our own and create projects and have imagination. And we lived in a absolutely perfect place because you could just go up 2 blocks and you'd be hiking in the hills, or you could get on your bike and ride right down to the beach. And you could do those things on your own. You didn't have to have supervision. So that was marvelous as a way to grow up. I'm sorry, there's a lot of pollen and it catches in my throat.
Oh, no, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
But the catch in our house was alcoholism. My dad, who was a very loving, very funny, very hardworking man, very bright man, suffered from the disease of alcoholism. And because of that, there was a level of tension and fear that was just part of our lives. We didn't know for sure who would come in the door at the end of the day. We all developed a hypersensitivity to whether Daddy had been drinking or not, and whether he had had a lot to drink or not. We went through many, many times where he tried to give up drinking, and he would give up drinking for a little while, but he had no program. He had no support for doing that. So it's not really a surprise that he would go back to drinking. So there was a threat of this dark, dark mood and potential death that hung over what seemed to be happy childhood.
And when you say potential death of your dad, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he was also depressive. And I didn't know when I was a child, but my mother knew that he had tried to kill himself at one point when I was just a baby. And I didn't know that, but there's something it's almost in the physical life of the family, this knowing that there's something really dangerous.
Was there a conversation you had with your mom or your dad that really stands out to you? It can be negative, it could be positive. That's something that you've carried with you for your life?
My dad was a really philosophical kind of guy, and he tried to help me with my moodiness and my anxiety about succeeding at whatever it was, the school play or getting elected to student government or whatever I had set up for myself. And he would give me little catchphrases, like easy does it, easy does it. And those were very, very meaningful. When I was older, my dad engaged with me on a short story I wrote, which conveyed the same kind of depression that he had suffered from. And even though he didn't have any answers for me, the fact that he had empathy meant a tremendous amount to me. Yeah.
What's your fondest memory as a kid?
Oh my goodness, there are so many, so many good memories. It's hard to think. I mean, one of my favorite memories is with my very, very good friend, Tony. She was encouraged by her father to take a real interest in nature. And he taught her how to collect butterflies. And so she was very familiar with caterpillars. And we would see them frequently. And one day at her house, she said, "Oh, here's a caterpillar." And she just let it crawl up onto her hand. And she said, "Do you want to hold it?" And I was very skittish. And she said, "It's fine, it won't hurt you." And then it crawled onto my hand and it tickled. It was wonderful.
That's such a
That
cool
was,
memory.
yeah, it's a very happy memory.
Is there something in nature that you really love that resonates with you a lot?
The ocean.
Why the ocean?
It's as if it were built in. I can't explain it. I mean, I just always have been drawn to the ocean and feel comforted by the ocean and like to be near it. Yeah.
Why did you title your memoir what you did?
The memoir is titled Bright Lights, Prairie Dust. And the reason I did was that I had thought for a long time what to call it. And I knew that because of the popularity of Little House on the Prairie and my identification with it, I had to have the word prairie in the title. It was only practical, So how could I do it? So I was just meditating one morning and I allowed my thoughts just to picture the images of what had moved me in my life, especially the years of the memoir. And that was the theater, which is always advertised by bright lights. And when you're on stage, you see bright lights so that you can't even see the audience. So that was bright lights and prairie dust. And the dust is because two things. There really was a lot of dirt on the location. And it was this very, very fine, fine, dry dust. It would just penetrate your skin, it would feel like you just had this dust in your pores and that would be there forever. But also as an image of something that clouds a scene. If the dust rises up, then things are not clear. And because I had some very difficult seasons on Little House, I felt I needed to also, include an image that was darker.
Hmm. Is what have you found in your lifespan to be the hardest thing you've gone through?
The hardest thing I ever went through was when I was newly sober and my father died suddenly. Alcoholic suicide. And I thought, I do not know how to go through this. But I did go through it. And I went through it one day at a time with the support of people who were helping me stay sober.
What did a day-to-day look like for you?
What did what?
What did a day-to-day look like for you?
Day to day, a routine, you
As
mean?
you're facing this grief,
Ah,
how
oh,
did you
that was really to keep it very, very simple. It was to take each day as it came. My dad would say that. Just take each day as it comes. I would do readings of a spiritual nature. I would call people who were supportive. I would help to make the arrangements for the family with for my mother, with my brother-in-law, who was very, very supportive of the family. Just one step at a time.
what do you find hard about life now in the
Now,
present? Yeah.
oh, life isn't very hard now. I've done so much work on all my demons that they don't trouble me too much now. And I think it's mostly the mind and the inside that makes things hard. And of course, I'm speaking as a person who is not dealing with, you know, a serious disease like cancer. I'm speaking as a person who has basically good health, a person who has enough money to be able to pay my bills, you know. So I'm very privileged in that way. And so the things that are hard in my life are my own making, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What do you love about life?
I love it. I love it. I love the sun. I love the sunshine today. Oh my God, the sky is so blue today. I love when I see people get through difficult times.
Hmm.
I love going to the beach. I like having my feet in the sand. Today I saw the most beautiful classic car. It had been built in 1930 or 31, and it was restored to perfection. I mean, I never saw one more beautiful. And they had painted it this shiny caramel color, and every detail had been taken care of. So I was having a sandwich at a little table outside in a shopping center, and I was hoping that whoever owned that car would come out while I was still there. And he did. So I went over and I said, "Are you the owner of this amazing vehicle?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, I just think it's the most beautiful classic car I've ever seen. And he said, "You're the second person to tell me that." And I said, "Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, look at the details on this. And he said the way it happened was during the pandemic, a friend of his wife called him and said, "Will you help me get him out of the house?" And this car he had bought when another friend of his had died. And it had just been sitting in his garage for years. So that became their COVID project.
Hmm.
And they made something beautiful. It's wonderful how many people found ways to be creative during the pandemic.
Hmm. What for you has been what gives you meaning for you in life, in living? So for all the highs and the lows, the good, the bad, what has kept you going? Why do you keep pushing through?
Well, I try not to push through, Danielle. I try to let go. I try to release into that positive energy that I believe is running the universe, and to be in touch with that, and to be part of that.
What exactly is that?
Who knows? Some people call it God. Sometimes I call it God. Some people call it the infinite. It doesn't really matter. You know, there are lots of different ways of talking about it, but there seems to be a universal human longing for connection with something greater, as if we remember there is something greater.
Hmm. And that has been what is encouraging to you throughout your life? Did you always think that way, or?
No, when I was a little kid, I became a very religious Christian. And I took great comfort in the fact that Jesus could solve problems. And I thought Jesus would solve the problem of whatever it was in our household that created so much tension. And then I went through periods where I tried to find some other formal religion, and I really didn't find one. And then I was very attracted to Buddhism for the sense of personal responsibility, you know, to take responsibility yourself for how you are in the world. And if you can do that, which isn't always that easy, you know. So I go hear the Dalai Lama speak, and basically what he says is be kind to each other. I think if you don't have any highfalutin ideas, if you're just kind to people, that's fantastic.
Hmm. What is one thing about the world you'd change if you could?
Oh, I wish we could wake up about this climate, you know. I mean, we really need to wake up.
And in what way do you mean?
Well, if we really woke up, we would change how things are. We wouldn't be putting it off.
Hmm. How would you have people help the environment more, steward it better?
Well, anybody could do any number of things, you know. I don't think one person can tell another what they should do.
Hmm.
Um, I I recently became aware that all the years of recycling that I've done are mostly for naught. Most of it is going right into landfills. And I mean, it's so crushing that people said, I'm going to help out, you know, and did their recycling. And I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it for whatever percentage gets to the right place. But it's so discouraging to think that we've been so manipulated by these big companies and by the oil and gas industry, and that, you know, now the blinders are coming off with all the weather events that are going on. People
Hmm.
can't hide from it anymore, but it's so hard for us to take action. It's so hard. I don't know.
Hmm. Is there still something you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Yes, I want to help with this. I don't know how to do it.
Hmm.
I'm looking now that I have a little more time. Um, the book took a lot of energy, and then promoting the book took a lot of energy. And right now, I'm I'm cleaning up a lot of things in my own life,
Hmm.
um, to be sure that when I'm gone, things will be in order. My parents were very good about that, and I'm following in their footsteps. And I want things to be in order, particularly because I don't want a lot of stuff to fall on my son.
Hmm.
So, what I would like to do is I would like to, in some way, contribute in whatever small way I can, uh, to this awakening, of the uh, of the climate. You know, I see some young people in particular doing such great work, you
Hmm.
know, to wake people up. It's but it just needs more of us. So I don't know, Danielle, you know, it's sort of a mystery what to do.
Hmm. Is there somebody living or that has passed away that you want to emulate? Do you want to be more like?
Oh, yeah, I want to be more like Martin Luther King. I want to be brave. My God, he was brave.
What would to have bravery, what would that look like for you to have more?
Hmm. I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
Are there specific areas that you wish you were braver in?
Um, um, well, beyond what I've said, I'm not sure how to explain it.
Specifically in the
I
area.
mean, I'm not Joan of Arc, you know. I'm not Joan of Arc. I'm not going to lead the country into the future. Uh, so I don't know, Danielle. I'm in a quandary about how best to direct my energy in a way that I can do,
Hmm.
you know. What how can I use what Karen does to help?
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's a big question.
it is.
Um, is there, if you couldn't live in this time, you had to pick a different period of history, What time do you think you'd pick to live in?
You know, people used to ask me this when I was doing Little House on the Prairie, because they would say, oh, times were so simple then. You know, it
I
was
don't
so
think so.
lovely. Well, right. I said, are you kidding me? You have to draw your water from the creek and heat it in the fireplace and do your laundry that way. I mean, come on. Come on. I want my washing machine and my dryer and all the rest of it. So I actually think that for women, this is the very best time to be alive.
Mm,
I don't think
because of
that,
all the appliances we have, or
oh, no, because of all the choices we have.
okay.
Because we are freer than we've ever been.
Mm,
More women are educated, more women have choices about what they do with their lives. I mean, yeah, I think this is the best time to be a woman.
mm. Is there a book that you really love?
Oh, yeah, there are many books that I really love. Let me think what I could share. There's a book called Loving Kindness,
Hmm.
The Revolutionary Art of Happiness. And the author is escaping me right now. So everybody, you can Google that. Loving Kindness, The Revolutionary Art of Happiness. This is a groundbreaking book, I think, about meditation.
Mm.
I learned so much from that book.
What did
Uh,
it talk about?
oh, well, I mean, it's a whole book. uh,
What stood out to you about it?
she has found a way to communicate about how our minds work.
Mm.
It is very easy to understand and identify with.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And then Shakespeare, you know, is my favorite.
Do you have a favorite play?
King Lear.
Mm.
Do you love King Lear?
My personal favorite is Hamlet.
Oh, well, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I read 3 times.
Shakespeare is really, really, it's powerful. There's a lot of elements of human nature that are
How
very,
did he know so much? Isn't it fantastic?
yeah.
Yeah, no, I did Hamlet 4 times. 3 times Ophelia and 1 time Gertrude.
That's so cool. That I would love that. That would be it. Pinnacle right there.
Yeah, because when you get to be with the play and hear the play every day, you know, it's just fantastic.
Was Ophelia your favorite part to play in the theater?
It was back then, but then as I matured, I got to play other parts that have been so much fun to do. Yeah.
Which other ones?
There's a play called Wit that I really enjoyed doing.
Mm.
That character was a English professor at a kind of prestigious English college, and she was a specialist in John Donne. And
Mm.
I could identify with all of that because I was really into English literature in college. And she is diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer.
Mm.
And the play, with the most amazing, witty scenes and funny lines and ironic contrasts, shows how the medical system at that time, this was probably written in the 80s or 90s, how the medical system was very impersonal and inhuman in the way that it treated patients.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah, and it also was a journey for this character from living totally in her brain, totally intellectually, to connecting with her humanity.
So that must have been a hard role to play.
Oh, it was very rewarding.
Hmm. What do you think you learned from it?
I learned not to be afraid in the hospitals. And I learned to be around disease. Before that, I was so uncomfortable around disease
Mm.
and in hospitals. But after that, I wasn't anymore.
Hmm. Why were you afraid before? Because it was so sad?
Um, I think the human suffering just overwhelmed me.
Hmm. And then I have one last question for you, Karen. Um, is there a piece of music or a song you've heard, listened to, that you think describes who you are, like really resonates with your soul as a person?
Well, the Bach cello,
Beautiful. Yeah.
I, it's just my most favorite music.
Mm-hmm.
You love those?
Oh yeah.
Unaccompanied cello. Yeah. We used to listen to Pablo Casals play those. And of course, now we have other players, but such fantastic music.
Why do you think it um resonates with you? Is it because of the sound, or is there something about the cello as an instrument?
I think it's everything, the instrument, the the melodies, it just moves me.
Do you love classical music?
I do. I love most kinds of music.
Do you have a favorite composer?
Bach.
Yeah, he's very good.
Bach and the Beatles, of course.
Very similar, right? Very similar genres.